Welcome back to the Philadelphia Eagles franchise here on Madden 22. Today we are going to recap all of season number 1. We're going to go over the stats, the standings, the playoffs, etc. Sort of setting the stage for our very first offseason of the series, which I'm really excited about. So of course last episode we lost our final game of the season, 13-10 in overtime against the Dallas Cowboys. The scenario for both us and Dallas entering this game was the winner advances to the playoffs, and the loser is eliminated. And obviously we lost, which means we are not in the playoffs, and unfortunately our bitter rivals, the Dallas boys, are. Our offense really struggled in this game. We did sack Dak Prescott 7 times, but it obviously was not enough to, score enough points. Let's take a quick look at the standings throughout the NFL. So the AFC North might have been the best division in the league. The Ravens, Bengals, and Browns all made the playoffs, and the Steelers at 9-8 were no slouch either. The Houston Texans were probably the biggest surprise in the league, winning the South. The Bills win the East, and the Miami Dolphins went 5-12. This is significant because we do own their first-round draft pick, which officially will be number 3 overall. So the Eagles will have a top 3 pick in this year's draft, thanks to the trade that these two teams made last offseason in order for the Dolphins to move up and draft Jalen Waddle. The Chiefs won the West with the Chargers making it as a wild card. The rookie Justin Fields of the Chicago Bears won the North. Tampa Bay wins the South. Dallas ends up clinching the East with the Washington football team making it in as a wild card. And obviously, we unfortunately missed out at 8-9. And then the NFC West had 3 playoff teams, the Seahawks, Cardinals, and 49ers, with the Los Angeles Rams being maybe the biggest disappointment in the league at 6-11. So this is the bracket going into the playoffs. We're going to go through the postseason week by week in just a little bit after we look at the stats as well as the awards for this season. But I also do want to talk about the coaching tree. We have gotten plenty of staff points throughout the season, and I've mainly been putting upgrades into our head coach, Champ Britton, rather than the coordinators. We have filled out almost the entire player growth tab, and we have filled out nearly the entire trades tab. So that means we are good at developing players, and we are good at making trades, which I think is very significant. So if you remember at the end of last episode, everybody's morale completely fell off the face of the earth. The team was in good spirits going into the game last week, and now everybody hates us. We were trash-talking the Cowboys before the week in the press conference, and since we didn't win, all of our players hate us. So that's why everybody is like 3 or 4 ratings lower than they should be. So let's take a look at the final stats, and of course, everything starts and ends with the quarterback, Jalen Hurts, who, in my opinion, was good this year for the most part. 4,269 yards, nice. 26 passing touchdowns, 16 interceptions, and he was also one of the best rushing quarterbacks in the NFL. Finishes as a 73 overall. I'm not going to count his morale loss, meaning he only went up 1 rating during the season, which I don't love, but I think Hurts really showed a lot to me this year, and I think he has earned the opportunity to be the starting quarterback next year. Miles Sanders had a very weird season. His numbers at face value look pretty good. 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns. Those are Pro Bowl numbers. But he was so inconsistent throughout the season. And I would blame the run game as a whole and the offensive line, but a lot of the games he struggled, Kenneth Gainwell and Jalen Hurts both played really well. So Miles Sanders had a lot of bad games this year, but he also had a lot of good games. He's still under contract for another year, so we'll figure out if he's the running back in the future. One of the biggest bright spots on this team was rookie Devontae Smith, who led the NFL in receiving yards. Now that's more so because nobody in the league had like a ridiculously good receiving season, but still, 92 catches, over 1,300 yards, and 7 touchdowns is a phenomenal season. Dallas Goedert, the tight end, also was very good for us, one of the better tight ends in the league. He is on the final year of his contract, so we're going to have to make a decision this offseason if we want to pay him. Outside of that, Jalen Reagor was fine, but we really never had a consistent third receiver. That's definitely going to be something we look for in the offseason. The offensive line had their good days and they had their bad days. We do have one of the more talented offensive lines in the league, and they had a lot of really good performances, but they weren't always the most consistent throughout the year. Our defense was, our pass rush was good, but our linebackers and secondary, outside of the couple players, really struggled. Rodney McLeod leads the team in tackles with 100. Fletcher Cox was, of course, the best player on the team. He had 22 tackles for loss and 14.5 sacks. And keep in mind, he missed time towards the end of the year. Just an unbelievable season from Fletcher Cox. Now, he's not getting any younger, but he is still a building block at the age of 31. Brandon Graham had 8 sacks and 19 tackles for loss. Akeem Davis-Gaither had 7, Josh Sweat with 6.5. And overall, our pass rush was one of the biggest strengths of the team. Darius Slay led the NFL with 8 interceptions. Again, like Fletcher Cox, he is also 31, but I still see him as a long-term building block. I think he's that good. Slay had most of his interceptions towards the middle of the year. He did not have a lot towards the end, not getting an interception in the final 3 games or the first 3 games of the year. McLeod and Maddox also with 3 interceptions. Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox had 3 fumble forces. I believe that's Josh Sweat with 2. And we had a few guys with fumble recoveries. We had quite a few defensive touchdowns. Eric Wilson had 2, Slay had 1, McLeod and Wallace also had 1. Jake Elliott was a busy man this year. 89 combined field goal attempts and extra point attempts, and he was good. Did not miss a PAT, 33 for 40 on kicks. The stat that really catches my eye, 10 for 13 from 50-plus yards out. That is really impressive. Aaron Sipos had a fine year as our punter, and then our kick and punt returning was not great. We did not have a return go for a touchdown. Let's take a look at the awards throughout the league as Lamar Jackson of the Ravens wins his 2nd MVP award. It's a big win for Lamar, who has obviously turned into one of the best young players in the league. David Culley, well-deserved, wins Coach of the Year. If you take that Texans team to 10-7, even with Deshaun Watson playing, you absolutely deserve that. Najee Harris wins Offensive Rookie of the Year over Trevor Lawrence. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah wins Defensive Rookie of the Year. The Offensive Player of the Year was Lamar Jackson, and the Defensive Player of the Year was Frank Clark of the Chiefs. Kansas City also had Demarcus Robinson, who had like 18 receiving touchdowns, win the Wide Receiver of the Year award. So Tom Brady wins Offensive Player of the Year in the NFC. Jalen Hurts finishes in 7th. Fletcher Cox finishes in 7th as well for Defensive Player of the Year. That was won by Khalil Mack. Justin Fields takes home Offensive Rookie of the Year with Devontae Smith in 2nd and Kenneth Gainwell in 7th. Zaven Collins wins Defensive Rookie of the Year with Milton Williams finishing in 9th. So one of the really interesting things for me was that Jalen Hurts did not make the best quarterback list. That doesn't really surprise me. I think he got his boost in the Offensive Player of the Year voting mainly because he was so good as a runner, and his passing stats, I guess, were not top 10 in the NFC, although I think he was better than Daniel Jones this year, at least from what we saw from the 2 games by Daniel Jones. I think Jalen Hurts is definitely better. As you can see, we had a number of nominees for these awards. Our only winner, however, was Darius Slay, who takes home the Best Defensive Back award in the NFC. Very well deserved. He was the best defensive back in the conference, maybe the best defensive back in the league. It's a shame the secondary as a whole really was not very good, but it definitely was not his fault whatsoever. So let's take a look at the wild card games. We've got quite a few interesting matchups, including a few interdivisional games. Now, before we simulate, I do want to show you guys the coach firings. The Colts and Dolphins are completely cleaning house. Who knows? Maybe the Eagles hire Frank Reich as their offensive coordinator again. Joe Judge was also fired by the Giants, which is interesting. So here are the playoff results. And the game that catches my eye is the Chiefs beating the Chargers 54-7 and the Houston Texans beating the Browns. How about them? So Texans are not going to be playing Baltimore in the divisional round. The Niners will play the Bucs. Bills play Kansas City. And Dallas will play against Chicago. Justin Fields has now won 2 postseason games as they beat Dallas pretty easily. Bills beat the Chiefs. Bucs over the Niners, and unfortunately the Texans lost in overtime, though. So a valiant effort by Houston, but they lose to Baltimore. So it'll be Bills, Ravens, and Bears, Bucs in the conference championships. And as you can see, the Bucs barely beat Chicago, and the Ravens demolish Buffalo. So we're going to have a Buccaneers-Ravens Super Bowl. Tom Brady versus Lamar Jackson. But before we get to the Super Bowl, we are briefly going to go over the Pro Bowl. I'm not going to play the Pro Bowl game, but we will skim over it. So Champ Britton has been selected to be the Pro Bowl coach, which kind of caught me off guard. We're going to pick the option to just have a fun, stress-free week of football, because that's what the Pro Bowl is. It's not anything we have to take seriously. We just want to have fun and let the guys have a good week. So as you can see, Jalen Hurts is in the Pro Bowl. That is pretty cool. I really was not expecting that. But Jalen Hurts makes his first of hopefully multiple Pro Bowls. Devontae Smith is also in, so that is 2 Pro Bowlers for us if you're counting at home. And then we had a couple offensive linemen make it as well. No Dallas Goedert, which kind of surprised me, but we did have Jason Kelce and Brandon Brooks get in. So that is 4 offensive players. And then on defense, obviously Fletcher Cox. That's to be expected. Darius Slay as well. He was only CB4, but at least he's in. And then we also had Jake Elliott get in as the kicker. So that's 7 total Pro Bowlers. 4 on offense, 2 on defense, 1 on special teams. That's a lot, considering we didn't even make the playoffs. So we are going to simcast the game, just so you guys can see the final results. Now, unfortunately, unlike real life, the game does not rotate players in and out, so it's only the starters who are going to get to play. And because of that, I figured it's the Pro Bowl. It's not a super important game that we have to take seriously. So why not put Jalen Hurts as the starting quarterback of the NFC over Russell Wilson? I think this will be a fun opportunity here for Jalen Hurts to play some of the best players in the league. I wouldn't say Hurts was a top 3 quarterback in the NFC, but it is good to have him make the Pro Bowl and certainly alleviate our confidence in him going forward. So the AFC would start on fire, up 14-3, but the NFC quickly answers back with a pair of touchdowns. So it seems like the offense is doing just fine with Jalen Hurts. 21-24 at halftime, a very high-scoring first half, which for an all-star game you kind of hope to see. The NFC builds up their lead, AFC with a late touchdown, NFC tacks on field goal, and this game looks like it's going to be over. 37-35 is your final. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles defeat Big Red Andy Reid, the former Eagles coach, and the AFC. So it's cool to see Jalen Hurts playing pretty well. 244 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. He did get outplayed by Patrick Mahomes, but hey, at the end of the day, a win's a win. Here are the receiving stats. Devontae Smith had 4 for 53. Our offensive lineman did not allow any sacks. Unfortunately, Fletcher Cox nor Darius Slay really did anything, but at least they added another Pro Bowl to their record. And Jake Elliott attempted 7 kicks, making all of them. Good for Jake, as now we are going to, before the Super Bowl, we're going to talk about players who have actually gone up in dev trait, because the Super Bowl stage is where that happens. We had nobody go up in dev on offense, but we did have a couple guys go up on defense. Darius Slay is now a superstar X Factor, our second X Factor on the roster. This one's really not a surprise, considering how good he was. But the surprise for me was Avonte Maddox, who goes up to superstar. Maddox had a pretty good season. He had 3 interceptions and overall was pretty solid. But I didn't expect him to go up in dev. So that's kind of the big deal. So now let's talk about the Super Bowl. The Bucks and the Ravens, and Baltimore wins it in overtime, 41-35. Off of a Super Bowl MVP performance from Lamar Jackson, in which he threw 5 touchdowns. So Lamar Jackson now has a ring, and Tom Brady is 7-4 all-time in Super Bowls. The rookie Rashad Bateman with 100 yards and a score. J.K. Dobbins played well. 2 sacks for the veteran Pernell McPhee. So it's good to see Tom Brady not win a championship, and it's cool to see one of the young guys, one of the young stars in this league, and Lamar Jackson, win his first ring. A lot of Lamar Jackson here on the season recap, as he won the MVP, the Offensive Player of the Year, and the Super Bowl. So, pretty good year for Lamar Jackson. Hopefully, Jalen Hurts can be like that one day. But that's going to end today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. The next few episodes are going to be really fun. So the following episode after this one is going to be an NFL draft special. It's not going to be the NFL draft itself, but it's going to be like a draft preview. We're going to go over the Senior Bowl. We're going to go over mock drafts. We're going to go over which players' stocks have gone up and down this year. As a big NFL draft nerd myself, I'm really excited about that video. After that, we will have an episode dedicated to free agency, and then we're going to have an episode dedicated to the draft. So it's going to be a really fun offseason. I'm super excited about it. Let me know what moves you think we should make in the offseason. Let me know in the comments. Have a good one. Peace out.